this afternoon, and you've been hearing it there. After a 2-year hiatus, God has been merciful and allowed us to come back to the ATTS Texas Regional Lectureship again. We're able to see old friends and become acquainted with some new ones. I appreciate the title that Brother Williams gave me. Man, he's so good to me. The title is it behind me? No, it's not behind me yet. The title is Learning to Forgive a Person in the Person of Christ. Isn't that a wonderful subject? And it's a lesson, and I almost said it like the old boys did, a lesson. You know, they used to talk like that. They want to put a G, a I-N-G at the end of stuff. And that was all right. That was all right. But this lesson is for all of us. You don't get too grown for this lesson. I don't care how long you've been a Christian. This is a great lesson, and I thank you for pointing me in this direction. It has helped me because I have to learn this stuff too. Learning to forgive a person in the person of Christ. And it comes from 2 Corinthians 2 and verse 10. Now I'm going to use more than 2 Corinthians 2 and 10, but that's where the sermon originates from. And it says, now when you forgive anything, I also forgive, for if indeed I have forgiven anything, I have forgiven that one for your sakes in the person of Christ. I have to ask a question at this point. I got to ask you something. How far does that go? You know, how you forgive a person in the person of Christ, and we as human beings, how far does that go? Is that a great question? Now, I want to ask you another good question. Who are you willing to forgive? Because we're not willing to forgive anybody, and what are you willing to forgive? See, there are some things that we don't want to forgive. There are some people that we are not willing to forgive. See, the Bible emphasizes more than once, and I'm just going to give you a couple of them, that we are to imitate Christ. 1 Corinthians 11 and 1, Paul tells us to imitate him, not because he's such a great man, but because he imitates Christ. Now, as long as we're doing stuff like Christ does, then it's all right for people to do like us. But if we go out on our own and start doing things like we want to do, and then we start talking to people about, hey, do like me, then you got a problem there. You got a problem there. Now, let's get off into this. Now, I want you to read 1 Peter 2:21, if you can do that for me. And see, we got to do everything that Christ does, like Christ does, because that in the person of Christ means that we need to do it like he does. Right. See, you got 1 Peter.
For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered.
He suffered? Why?
Leaving us an example.
He wanted to be an example for us.
We should follow
when we
steps.
Get that example for Christ, then we need to do it just like he did. Plain and simple. This lesson is not difficult to understand. Problem with this lesson? Acceptance and obedience. Forgive like Christ did. Christ said, loving, love like Christ does. See, in order to forgive, you got to love. Jesus told us in John 15 and 12, it's a new commandment. Not the old commandment. Not do as you do to me, but do like I did for you. Now, what did Christ do? He forgave us. You can look at that in Ephesians 1. Way before things were even created, Christ saved us. He saved us. Except that. Oh, we're saved, but we want to do everything that we want to do. So you're not saved anymore then, because you're not imitating Christ. You're not doing it in the present, in the form of Christ. Now, how far does that go? It goes all the way. See, Peter asked Christ, where was that at? Matthew 18 and 21, he asked the question, should I forgive him 7 times? Oh, Peter, man, you counting. After 7 times, I don't need to forgive you anymore. But Jesus said, not 7, but 70 times 7. Now, I want you to look at this very carefully. And I want to share something with you, okay? I don't work anymore. I have problems working for people. Y'all look at me like I'm crazy. And most of the people that I've worked for or with, I didn't like them. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just sharing something with you. I'm trying to get this lesson across with you. These people, I remember the last job I had, I worked with 5 people. Man, I had to watch myself. Because all 5 of them, even though one of them said I was the best friend he ever had, they were stabbing me in the back. So I'm holding things against them constantly. I got to worry about where I'm walking, what I'm saying, how I'm performing my job. Because if I don't do it to satisfy them, then they're going to go to somebody and stab me in the back even though I'm looking out for them. See, so I had to learn to forgive these people. I can't work with them, but I had to learn to forgive these people, because if I do, I'm miserable. I'm not miserable. If I don't, I'm miserable. See, you heard me when I say I'm a student of psychology. Yeah. See, I believe in preventative measures. Just like you waking up right then. See, you're all awake now. You're not nodding. I did good. Okay. I believe in preventative measures. See, forgiveness is a spiritual preventative measure. You don't get that? Forgiveness not only helps that person that offended you, but more importantly, it helps you. See, in psychology, I learned that worry kills. Anxiety kills. It's a burden that nobody can handle well. Oh, you think you can handle worry? Well, why are you taking aspirin? Why are you taking antidepressant medication? Why you go whining to folks? See, the reason why you forgive is to take all the pressure off of you. See, let me share some things with you. When I was I went from the 3rd to the 5th grade. Now, I'm not being boastful. I was smart. They skipped me from the 3rd to the 5th grade because I was smart. In the 4th grade, they taught you timetables. I didn't learn my timetables. In the 5th grade, I had to know my timetables. I'm not going to say his name because I went to a school here in Texas, and the man might still be alive. But he beat the timetables into me in one day. By the time I went to bed that night, he told me that if I came to school that next day and I didn't know my timetables, he was going to whoop me with that paddle again. He didn't get to whoop me again. I learned my timetables in one night. For years, up until about 10 years ago, No, it had to be longer than that. I've been preaching at East Main 14, so it was after I got to first East Main Church of Christ. I had to forgive that man because I was miserable, because I felt like that at any time that I ran into that man, I was going to hurt him because of what he did to me. I said I was going to get that man. If I ever saw him again, I was going to beat him for beating me for no reason at all. He also beat me because the guy hit me at recess. He was bigger than me and I'm trying to be a Christian. And the guy came up, I'm going to make you fight, boy. And he hit me in the chest and that man beat me too. And I told him I'm a Christian, I don't want to fight. And all the boys said, man, leave him alone. That's a good dude, leave him alone. I was going to whip that teacher. At 40 years old, I wanted to whip him. I had to forgive that man. When I forgave that man, do you realize all the pressure that came off of me? See, when you forgive somebody, you don't have to wait till they come and ask you for forgiveness. Christ didn't do it before you were born in the person of Christ. Before you were born, Christ forgave you. Does that mean that you are forgiven? No, you have to accept Christ's forgiveness. Forgive someone in the person of Christ. Now let me open my book up before I get off. How far does this go? It goes a long ways. It goes all the way. See, let's look at this story in 2 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter. It starts off in the first verse that Paul did not want to bring them any grief. Because Paul got off on people being happy. Okay? See, I want you to understand this. See, I got another friend that enjoys controversy. He wants to make your life miserable so that he can be happy. Paul wasn't like that at all. If you're happy, Paul was happy. Evidently, there was a man that had came into this situation at Corinth that had caused some people some grief. He didn't get away with it because they had punished him. If you look in the 6th verse of the 2nd chapter of 2 Corinthians, they had punished him, and Paul told these people that punishment should be sufficient now. That should be enough. You don't need to punish him no more. You need to forgive him in order so he won't suffer no more. So you don't suffer no more. Then when you forgive, they don't have to suffer no more.
Yes, sir.
Don't get off on them being miserable. Don't get off on people being miserable. Get happy because people are happy. Well, my house is good when Sister Rochell is happy. We've been looking at houses here lately, and I remember one time back in 95, I believe it was, a house burned up. And I needed a place to stay. And I went and rented a place, and then I went and got her and all whatever else was left of the furniture, and I brought it back, brought her and everything back to the house and the kids and said, hey, this is our new place. You think she was happy? Do you think I became happy? When did I become happy? After I got out of that house and into a house that she wanted to be in. See, home is cool wherever she is. She makes home. We need to make people happy so we can be happy. Now, let's get back off into this. You must learn to forgive in order for hope to come alive. See, the Bible tells me over in Luke 9:62 that if I'm plowing, I need to plow looking forward. Y'all don't know nothing about plowing. Y'all big city folks, huh? Big city, maybe your grandfather did, but y'all don't know nothing about that hard work. Plowing, I remember watching my daddy We had 2 mules. I remember back to when I was a year old. We had the mules. We left the mules when I was a year old. He had 2 mules, Jim and Coley. And I remember him with a plow, one of them one-bladed ones, with the straps over his shoulder, walking behind them 2 mules plowing, looking forward. When I came up to him, he didn't even see me. He was plowing. You can't plow and look behind you. You can't not forgive and go forward. You're going to be, see, like I told you, if you go into a situation with a bunch of people that you're mad at that have done things to you, it's hard to go forward. Because when you get with those people, what are you thinking about when you look at each and every one of those individuals? You're thinking about what they did to you. You're thinking about what they did to you. And you're remembering this so in depth that you haven't forgotten. God forgives you and he forgets it. That's the way God does it. He said, you sinned. Now, I ain't going to remember it no more. We don't want to go through that. We see people do stuff to us. You probably mad at somebody that did something to you in 1975. I mean, you go back and you start thinking about stuff that people, you get in a room full of people that you don't like, and what are the thoughts that's going through your mind? It's backwards, it's not forward. Forgive people. Forget about it. Well, I'm going to forgive, but I ain't going to forget. Forget it. Rochell, what did you say? Hey, y'all know what I said then? Forgive people and forget about it. Forget it. We don't want to accept that. Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy. You still want to remember what people did to you. Forgive them and forget it. I need to sit down right now. Because if you don't get that, you ain't going to get the next thing that I say. Forgive and forget. See, because I'm talking about hope. See, in 1 Corinthians 13 and 13, it says hope is one of the greatest 3 things that you can have. How you going to hope if you're holding stuff against people that did something to you in the past? Because you are living in the past. If I look at you and I think about yesterday, I need to look at you and think about tomorrow, about all the great things that we can do. I need to be looking forward to the next great sermon that's going to be preached. I hear there's a brother named Brother Oldham that's going to be preaching next, I believe. Who is he? Where is he?
Right there.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to be able to finish this lesson and hear the truth, because that truth, what is it going to do for me? It's going to make it possible for me to live with Jesus, that person that forgave me. How y'all doing? Are y'all ready to forgive yet? Are you ready to forgive and put all of that stuff in the past yet? You need to do it so you can be free. That's truth. Truth to set you free. Don't you know that? If you sit up there worrying about yesterday, how you going to look forward to tomorrow? You can't do it. We need to forgive so we don't have to worry. You can't live in the past. You can't be looking behind you. Paul said, Philippians 3:14, what? I press on. I'm going forward. I'm not looking back at all the Christians that I imprisoned and beat and killed. God has forgiven me for that. We need to forgive each other for all that mess that's been going on. I got 10 minutes? Oh, that's plenty. My formal education is secular. I got a degree in psychology. I don't have no I was raised by a Church of Christ preacher that went to the 8th grade, had to go to work. I said 3 years old. Y'all don't believe that I was preaching at 3 years old. Marshall Keeble had me preaching. He wanted to take me with him. My mama wouldn't let him. I get emotional about that. I'm about to cry now. I sit up in the living room with my ottoman. We had an ottoman. I had me a little New Testament, 3 years old. Y'all don't believe it? I could read it 3 years old. I could tie my shoes. I could do all that stuff. 3 years old. I could read my little New Testament Bible. I had a 5-minute sermon that I preached in front of Brother Keeble, Brother Webb, my mama and daddy, and Brother Webb's wife, and some other couple I don't remember. But I used to preach for them. Brother Keeble preached a revival for my daddy, and I told Brother Keeble after he got through, I was going to go up. When I got ready to go up, my daddy grabbed me and said, "No, man, wait. You don't know what you do to people and to kids when you don't teach them about God and don't allow them to expand." That kid ain't ready to get baptized yet. I ain't going to let him get baptized. I need to teach him. How come you ain't taught him? How come you don't know by now? I forgive you for not doing that. I forgive them. I forgive that man that beat me. I forgive them people that I work with. Do you know how good I feel because I done forgave them people? I don't have no preaching or teaching other than from my father, Brother Keeble, and all them other preachers that used to sit in my living room and the Bible that I read. But I notice, I'm going to butt my shirt in case one of y'all want to come up here. I didn't go to Southwestern or Pepperdine or Prairie, what is it called? Prairie, what, all of these other, I didn't go to Lipscomb. I knew Brother Lipscomb. I knew him. I didn't go to none of these schools. But I noticed that people that are going to some of these schools, they're divided. They're divided. There's got to be some forgiveness going on here somewhere. Somebody in authority needs to get the leaders of the people and to get them to sit down somewhere and to talk about, let's do what the Bible says. Take all our emotions out of that. Let's forgive each other and let's push on forward. You know why? People don't want to forgive nobody. They don't want to forgive. They want to hold on to all that stuff. Let me open my book up and let me get through with this lesson here, because I'm going to make somebody mad here in a minute. In order to forgive, you must let go. In order to hope, you got to forgive. In order to forgive, you have to love. There ain't enough love. I said something over at Brother Shaw's church and at my church. Now, I don't say it's his church. It ain't his church. Over in Sherman. If you knew, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna do it with me, okay? If I knew my wife was gonna die tomorrow, and I mean the doctor said, hey, this is it. She's gonna live one more day. She's gonna die by 7 o'clock in the morning. You've heard that stuff before. Gonna die by 7 o'clock. How would you think I would behave then? Huh? And I love that woman. I mean, I love that woman more than any other person in the whole wide world. I love her more than my mother. Yeah. And my daddy. And I love my mama and daddy. That's my wife. She's part of me. Yeah, I'm about done. But if I knew that she was going to die, what would I do today? I would love her like there's no tomorrow. Like there ain't no tomorrow. Because there ain't no tomorrow. I'm going to do everything that today, between now and the time that she closes her eyes forever, I'm going to do everything that I can to make her happy and to make those last minutes as pleasant as possible. You would do it too. You would do it too. So now, we need to love enough. We need to love people enough to forgive them. And we need to move on. See, Christ forgave you. He forgave them. Paul forgives them when you forgive them. But Christ done already forgave them. So you need to forgive. Let's forgive and move on in the person of Christ. See, the giant outside of us is not bigger than the God that's inside of us.
Come on. Amen. Hey, Brother Rochell said some stuff, didn't he? A whole lot of Christians are so miserable, make other folk miserable because they hold on to stuff in the past. I was just thinking about how we serve a God who's omniscient, and in Malachi 3:16, a God who has a book of remembrance, yet in Hebrews chapter 8 and Hebrews chapter 10, that he says, their sins and iniquities I remember no more. When God forgives us, he doesn't hold it against us, does he? And